All right, a plural birth is a live birth to twins, triplets, and so forth. The function R parentheses T equals 26. The 10th root of T models the plural birth rate R, live births per 1,000 live births, where T is the number of years since 1995. Use the model to predict the year in which the plural birth rate will be 39. What's something I should circle or underline? Okay, the equation. The equation's going to be important. What else?
The plural birth rate.
All right, the plural birth rate is R. Okay, so they're saying R is the plural birth rate.
T is the number of years.
Very good. And T is the number of years since 1995. Okay? All right, so guys, when you see R of T, remember you can just write that R equals 26 10th root of T. Remember that R of T is the same thing as just R. Okay? And so they say use the model to predict the year in which the plural birth rate will be 39. Is 39 going in for R or for T? The plural birth rate will be 39. And so which letter is plural birth rate, R or T? R. So it goes in for R. 39 equals 26, 10th root of T. Uh-huh. Yep. Mm-hmm. Okay, and guys, we're using the exact same skills we've already learned. Nothing new, okay? What letter am I trying to get by itself? T. What number should I move first? The 26. How do you get rid of the 26? Divide it. It's being multiplied. So you got to divide by 26. Okay, so guys, are you adding the 26 over here? No. Look back at the original. Is there a plus sign in there or a minus sign? If there's nothing, remember in math, this means 26 times the 10th root of T. If there's no symbols, it means multiply. All right, what's 39 divided by 26? 1.5 equals the 10th root of T. Okay. All right, how would I get rid of the 10th root? Raise it to the 10th power, okay? Raise it to the 10th power, okay? Raise it to the 10th power, so the 10th root and the 10 over here cancel out, so I'm left with T equals 1.5 to the 10th.
57.6.
All right, 57.6 is fine. It doesn't specifically, well, yes it does. It says use the model to predict the year. Okay, so this isn't my final answer. What year are we starting in? 1995 is the year we're starting in. We're starting in 1995. And what do I have to do with 1995? What do I have to do with 1995? How many years did it take? It took 57.6. What year did I start in? What am I going to do with those two numbers? Add them. So 1995 plus 57.6. Let's go ahead and round it. So it's 2000 and what? Okay, 2053. Okay, number two. Number two, the relationship between the weight of a well in tons W and the length in feet L is given by W equals 0.000137 L to the 3.18. Which expression below can be used to find the length of a well that weighs 50 tons? Okay. Which expression below would be used to find the length of a well that weighs 50 tons? All right. 50 is how much it weighs. So that goes in for W. Okay. So that goes in for W. All right, if you take a moment and look at your answer choices, have they solved it all the way? No. Okay, so let's just do the first step and then look at our answer choices and see where we are. So what letter are we trying to get by itself? L. Which number do we move first? The decimal, okay? And how do we get rid of this one? Divide it. Okay. And guys, don't put it in your calculator, because if you look over at your answer choices, they haven't simplified it. So leave it as 50 over that. What's still with the L? 3.18, and that's the power. The opposite of doing the power is to do the root. Very good. So you do the root, okay? To get rid of a power, you do the root, and then what number will I put out here? 3.18, which is very weird, but the answer is A, okay? All right, well, here, let me do it exactly the way it's supposed to be done. So to get rid of this 3.18, you're supposed to root both sides and put 3.18 out here. So to do whatever you do to one side, you're supposed to do to the other. And then this one crosses out with this root. So those are the two that cancel. Okay? All right, number 3, the formula A equals 6v to the 2/3 relates the surface area A in square units of a cube to its volume V in cubic units. What is the volume of a cube with a surface area 486 inches squared? Okay, so you have your formula, A equals 6v to the 2/3. They give you a number, 486. What is 486? Is it volume or area?
It's area.
It says, what is the volume? So I'm trying to find the volume with a surface area 486. So 486 is my area, okay? 486 is the area, so it goes in for A. Goes in for A. Caleb, what do I do next? Divide both sides by 6. Somebody tell me what you get when you do 486 divided by 6. Okay. And DC, how do you get rid of the 2/3? Flip it, and so it becomes 3/2. You do it to both sides, and those two cancel. So in your calculator, remember to use parentheses. 81, caret key, parentheses, 3/2, 729. Okay. Guys, some of you have, when you've been doing problems like this, you've been like, okay, I need to take 486 and square it, because it said squared. It's just telling you the dimensions are inches squared. That's just how it works in math and in construction. If you're talking about area, like if you are doing 6 or x by x, then it's x inches squared is the area, is how they do the units in math. That's how you get rid of it. So 2/3 really means the second power, because it's power over root. So it's the second power and the cube root. So you could do it in 2 different steps, but to get rid of it all at one time, if you flip it, 2/3 and 3/2 in math, that gives you 6/6, which equals 1. So they cancel each other out. Okay? All right, number 4, if the certain model of a laptop has a width of 12.78 inches and an area of 114.25 inches squared, find the diagonal. All right, did they give me a formula for this one? So what would be a good strategy on how to start this? Okay, I heard draw a picture, which is great. Okay. All right, it's a laptop screen, so it's going to look like this. What do I know about the laptop screen? Okay, width is 12.78, and the area is 114.25. I heard Shelly say, and he was exactly correct, he said define the area of a rectangle, it's length times width, okay? It's length times width. So, guys, some of y'all can do this in your calculators and you don't need to write it out, but I'm gonna write it out just so everybody sees what's going on. So area is length times width, okay? What do we know the area is? 114.25. Do I know the length? No, but I know the width, okay? How can I figure out what the length is? Divide, okay? Divide both sides by what? 12.78, okay? Once again, you don't need to write all this out. Some of y'all could do that without writing it out. 114.25 divided by 12.78. Okay, 8.94. All right, let's go back and read the question. What is the question saying to do? Find the diagonal. Okay, to find the diagonal. This thing right here. And that's, you know, when you go to the store, if you want to buy an 82-inch television, the 82 inches is actually measuring the diagonal. Okay, so if you're like wanting to know what 82 inches is telling you about your TV, it's actually from there to there is what they measure. Okay? All right. Anyways, back to this. How can I find this diagonal if I know this side and this side? Yep. What's the triangle formula? A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Okay? A squared plus B squared equals C squared. What goes in for A? 12.78, so this side, and square it. What goes in for B? 8.24. And guys, you have a calculator, so just type it all in. 12.78 squared plus 8.94 squared. Okay, just type it all in. All right, what do you get when you type it all in? Okay, I'll write it all there. That's only 3 decimal places to write. That's not too bad. So hold up. Nick, how do you get rid of the square? Square root it. Okay, so you got to square root both sides. That's how you get rid of the square. You square root. So those cancel. And so guys, type it in. Square root 243.252. 15.6. All right. Number 5, the volume of a spherical balloon is 950 centimeters cubed. Find the radius of the balloon. They give you a formula. What can I write instead of volume of the sphere? What? What can I write instead of volume of the sphere? 950. Where are you getting that from? The problem tells you that is the volume. Okay, so you put in 950. What letter do they need you to get by itself? The R. Okay, sorry. They need you to get the R by itself. Okay, so what number should we get rid of first? 4/3. How do you get rid of 4/3? Okay, so you have 2 options. You can divide both sides by 4/3. That's fine. Okay? You could also flip it. Okay? If you flip it, then you do this to both sides. Okay? And then those 2 cancel. All right, so type this in your calculator. 3/4 times 950. What are you getting? Okay. Faith, what should I get rid of next? How would I get rid of the pi, Faith? divide it. Good. Divide both sides by pi. Guys, the pi button is next to the caret key on your calculator. All right, so divide it by second. All right. We'll write down 226.796. 226.796. And then, Courtney, how do you get rid of the cube? Good. You cube root, or you could flip the 3. What would 3 become when you flip it? 1/3. Either way works, okay? And so when you type this in your calculator, if you hit the math button, if you hit math, you can go down to number 4 and get the cube root, okay? And guys, if you want the calculator to give you the exact answer, if you hit second negative, it'll put in that whole answer for you. It'll put that whole answer under the root. And you end up getting what? All right, so for our final answer, we'll just do 6.1. And what is 6.1? It is the radius. Okay, 6.1 is the radius. All right, number 6, a pendulum can be measured with the equation T equals 2 pi square root L over G, where T is the time in seconds, G is the force of gravity, and L is the length of the pendulum. Find the period to the nearest hundredth of a second if the pendulum is 0.9 meters long. All right, so I have this formula. And all right, what do they tell me T is? What do they say T is? The time in seconds. Have they given me a number of seconds? No, they haven't given me a number of seconds. What do they say L stands for? L is the length of the pendulum. Have they told me how long the pendulum is? What is it? All right, 0.9 is how long it is, so that goes in for L. 0.9 goes in for L. What do they say G stands for? Well, what do they say? Like, G is the gravity, and they tell you up here that gravity is 10, okay? All right, is my letter already by itself? Yes, so you just type all that in your calculator. 2 pi square root 0.9 divided by 10. Okay? And what do you get? Okay, what did it say to round to? The nearest hundredth? How many decimal places is that? 2. Okay, so 1.88. Okay, 1.88. All right, B. How long would the pendulum be if the period were exactly 1 second? So this time they're giving me 1 second. So seconds is the time. So 1 goes in for the T. So 1 goes in for the T. And this one says how long. So do I know the length? Okay, so this one's a completely separate problem. So ignore this stuff and just go back to the original equation. And so this one's saying how long, so I don't know the length. I do know gravity. They told me gravity in the very original sentence. What's gravity? 10. Okay. All right, so I have 1 equals 2 pi L over 10. I'm trying to get L by itself. How about Mary Hannah? What number would you move first? Got to get rid of the 2. And guys, let's just get rid of the pi, the 2 pi at the same time. So we'll divide both sides by 2 pi. Divide both sides by 2 pi. But you've got to group that together. So 1 divided by 2 pi. Use your parentheses. All right, 0.16 equals the square root of L over 10. Kamara, what would you need to do next? Square both sides? She was drawing it in the air. It was good. All right, so those cancel. 0.16 squared is, we'll say 0.025 equals L over 10. And Elijah, how do you get rid of this 10? You multiply by 10. Good. So, guys, what do you get? 0.25.
Just slow it down a little bit.
Sure. Do you want me to go back to the beginning on this one?
Go back to the beginning. We just slow it down.
I will.
Why did you get rid of the s squared? To cancel out the square root?
Say it again.
Why did you get rid of the s squared in the gravity equation?
Oh, because the s squared, this is your units. Meters per second squared. That's your units. You don't ever put units into a formula. Now, it is good to put units at the end with your answer, but the units don't go in there, okay? All right, number 7. The difference between an integer and its square root is 12. What is the integer? The difference. What does difference mean you're doing? Subtracting, okay? Difference means I'm subtracting something. All right, I'm subtracting an integer and its square root. Do I know what the integer is? Okay, so what do you use in math when you don't know? X. Okay, so I'm using an X for the integer. And then I have to do the square root. What do you think is going to go on the inside? X. Okay, so the integer is X, the square root of X. What does is mean in math? Equals 12. Okay, equals 12. All right, what is the integer? So I have to solve this. Okay, I have to solve that. What do I do first to solve something like that? Move over the X, because you got to get the square root by itself. Remember how a lot of times we'll box it? You've got to get that by itself. So you move this X over to the other side. What do you do when you move this X over? It's going to be negative. Okay? All right, so you move that X over and subtract it. All right, do I have the square root by itself? Yes and no. You could divide by -1 if you wanted to, but it's not going to matter, because how are we going to get rid of the square root? We're going to square it, and when you square a negative, it becomes a positive, so you really don't need to worry about it too much. So you square both sides. Square both sides. So the square root and the square cancel. What am I left with on this side? On the left, what am I left with? X. Okay? And then what do I do here? I heard somebody say it. The box, because you write it twice. All right, 12 times 12. 12 times negative x, negative 12x. Negative x times 12. And then negative x times negative x, positive x squared. Okay? All right, guys, let's write this in the right order. What comes first out of the box? The x squared. And then remember, I have to circle these two and do what with them? Add them. Negative 12 plus negative 12. Okay, plus 144. Okay. All right, this is the step we're having trouble with. So let's take a minute and look at this step. What do I do next? Not yet. I got to do one thing. This is what kept messing us up on the quiz. You have to move this x over here. You got to put it all together.
When I was doing it the day you were out, I was trying to remind them that you want 0 on the other side.
Okay, good.
I don't know if that would help, but in order to do it, you have to first have that other side equal to 0. So you subtract the x, and that will be 0.
Good, thank you.
I don't know if that helps.
All All right, so I have x squared. Then what will this turn into? Negative 25x plus 144. Okay. All right, and then when I get here, what am I doing? Factor. And 144. Anybody already found it? Is it 16 and 9? Yeah, that works. And should they both be positive or both be negative?
Negative.
All right, and let's stop for a minute. Do we have questions? Okay. All right, and then what do you do last with these two?
Equal to 0.
So you get 16 and 9. Okay, you get 16 and 9. Yes, you do have to check these. Okay. All right, let me go back. I can't even see what my original was. What was the original?
X minus
Okay, so if you plug in 16 minus 4, because the square root of 16 is 4, does that equal 12? Okay, and then if you plug in 9. 9 minus the square root of 9 is 3. Okay. So the one that works is 16.